Hello and welcome, I'm Shubham and you're watching the News Point. The war in Gaza has raged for nearly 2 years. Tens of thousands of Palestinians lie dead. Israeli hostages remain in captivity. The skies over the coastal enclave are filled with smoke. The streets with rubble and the cries of the displaced echo across a land consumed by destruction, hunger and fear. Into this storm steps Donald Trump with a plan. A bold 20-point proposal that he promises will end the war, return the hostages, rebuild Gaza and advance peace. In Washington, the cameras capture a perfect scene. Standing beside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House, Trump unveils what he calls, and I quote, historic opportunity. Netanyahu smiles, shakes Trump's hands, and the flashes explode. A moment of triumph, a moment of hope, at least on television. But beyond the optics, the story is far more tangled, far darker. Hamas, the Palestinian fiction that has fought Israel relentlessly since October 7, 2023, has not embraced the deal. A senior Hamas official told the BBC that the plan serves Israel's interest and ignores those of the Palestinian people. To them, the plan is not peace, it is surrender. They cannot disarm, cannot hand over all hostages in a single stroke, cannot permit foreign troops to patrol their streets. Their resistance is survival, their weapons a lifeline, their bargaining chip against obliteration. Netanyahu, meanwhile, may have nodded in Washington, but back home in Israel, his words are different. Speaking in Hebrew to his domestic audience, he reassures them that he has not agreed to a Palestinian state, that Israeli troops will remain in most of Gaza, and that Israel will forcibly resist any such outcome. The public display of agreement in English masks a very different reality. This is the contradiction at the heart of Trump's Gaza peace plan, a proposal that promises everything to everyone but risks delivering nothing to anyone. At its core, the plan demands an immediate ceasefire, the release of all hostages and the exchange of Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. In return, Israel would begin a staged withdrawal from Gaza. The plan also calls for Hamas to disarm fully and renounce violence, the installation of a temporary international stabilization force, Gaza to be governed by a transitional administration of Palestinian technocrats under a board of peace chaired by Trump, with former UK Prime Minister Tony Blair also on board, and an eventual pathway to Palestinian self-rule, but only after the Palestinian Authority undergoes reforms and elections. In Trump's telling, the plan offers hope. In reality, it is a framework designed to satisfy Israel's war aims, dismantling Hamas, returning hostages, and securing Gaza's border while giving Washington credit for brokering peace. A Hamas leader put it bluntly, the plan ignores Palestinian interest. The objections cut to the bone. First, disarmament. For Hamas, weapons are not just tools, they are power, leverage, lifebloods of resistance. Giving them up would mean erasing themselves. Second, the hostages. Trump's plan demands all hostages, alive or dead, be handed over within 72 hours of Israeli acceptance. Hamas sees this as surrendering their only card. Once the hostages vanish, what guarantee exists that Israel will cease its assault? History has bred deep mistrust. Israel could strike again at any moment. And third, the international stabilization force. For Hamas, this is not neutrality, but a new occupation. Western troops, perimeter control, whatever the name, Gaza remains under siege, just with a different flag. Fourth, the buffer zone. Trump's map shows a strip along Gaza's southern border with Egypt. How it will be managed is unclear, but Palestinians fear yet another encroachment on their land. Finally, there is pride, politics, identity. Accepting the plan would be a public admission of defeat. After a war framed as a resistance, as Hamas commander Ez al-Din al-Haddad reportedly said, better to keep fighting than surrender. If Hamas rejects the plan, Netanyahu can declare, we tried, they refused. If Hamas accepts, he faces a different peril, his political survival. In Washington, Netanyahu seemed to accept the deal. Hours later, speaking in Hebrew, he clarifies no Palestinian state, Israeli troops remain, security control not relinquished. Why this double language? Because Netanyahu is trapped. At home, far-right ministers like Itamar Ben-Gvir and Bezalel Smotrich rejects any ceasefire and dream of annexing Gaza. They see Trump's plan as betrayal. Smotrich calls it a resounding diplomatic failure. Ben-Gvir warns any compromises is weakness. Yet Netanyahu faces other pressures. Families of hostages demand action. Polls show most Israelis crave an end of the war. Opposition leader Yair Lapid offers support in the Knesset to pass a ceasefire. Netanyahu must balance survival at home with appearance abroad. Analysts suggest he will kill the plan softly, studying it, citing the security concerns, escalating the war until it no longer matters. Ending the war, you see, might end Netanyahu's career. Silence the guns and inquiries into the October 7 failure resume. Corruption trial return to headlines, rivals in Likud, and the far right will smell blood. For Netanyahu, war is survival, peace is peril. Inside Gaza, despair rules. Some residents cling to the plan not out of trust but desperation. One displaced man says, and I quote, "Anything that ends the bloodshed is good. Even if the devil himself brought a plan to an end, this is hell. I would support it." Another echoes, "Trump is Israel. The US is with Israel. The Arab states conspired against us, but anything that will stop the slaughter is good." Palestinian journalist Fatih Sabah warns a Hamas rejection would give Netanyahu a green light to continue the war with American and Western backing to destroy what remains of Gaza. The people know the plan is flawed, but they cannot bear more war. Hunger, famine, disease, bombardment. They need an end, and even if the terms are unjust. Trump's plan won fast backing from Arab states, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, Jordan, Turkey, Indonesia, Pakistan, all hailed the sincere attempt to end the war and rebuild Gaza. For them, the plan offers stability, a chance to contain the crisis and maintain ties with Washington. The EU and UN cautiously welcomed it. EU Council President Antonio Costa calls Netanyahu's response, and I quote, encouraging. UN Human Rights Chief Volker Turk says anything that brings us to the ceasefire is welcome. But unease lingers. The plan grants no Palestinian sovereignty, sidelines the Palestinian Authority, and dangles only vague promises of self-rule. It entrenches Israel's control and places Trump at the center as chairman of Board of Peace. As one Doha analyst notes, this is less of a peace plan than a Trump re-election campaign. Trump insists the plan is non-negotiable. Netanyahu claims acceptance but contradicts term. Hamas promises to study it but privately signals rejection. A triangle of contradictions emerges. For Hamas, the plan demands total surrender. For Netanyahu, it demands concessions he cannot make. For Trump, it demands obedience he cannot enforce. The result is stalemate packaged as peace. The war did not begin on October 7, 2023. It is decades in the making, rooted in occupation, displacement, failed peace processes. Every previous plan, Oslo, Camp David, Trump's 2020 deal of the century, has stumbled over settlements, borders, refugees, Jerusalem, and sovereignty. Trump's plan repeats the pattern: relief for Palestinians without rights, security for Israel without accountability, calm for the region without justice. Many Palestinians see surrender, not peace. Many Israelis see trap, not victory. Three futures loom, you see. Hamas rejects. Netanyahu continues the war. Trump blames Hamas. Suffering continues. Hamas accepts conditionally. Netanyahu balks. Far-right revolts. Deal collapses. And both sides delay. Hamas studies. Israel studies. Trump moves on. In all cases, Gaza pay the price. Trump calls it a path to peace. Hamas calls it a trap. Netanyahu calls it acceptable abroad, unacceptable at home. Arab states call it a progress. Palestinian calls it a flawed but necessary. Perhaps the truth is simpler. This is not a peace plan, it is a performance. Trump reclaims the spotlight. Netanyahu shields his career. Hamas asserts its resistance. And for Gaza people, bombed, starved, displaced, it is another chapter in a long history of promises made, broken, and peace postponed. Until justice is served, until sovereignty is real, until leaders put people above politics, no plan can bring true peace. Trump's plan may end the war on paper, but unless it ends occupation in practice, it will be just another peace before the next storm. You're watching The News Point. I'm Shubham. Until next time.